All right, there he comes. We're going to watch the presidential address and comment on it, obviously.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
My fellow Americans, good evening. Let me begin by congratulating the team at NASA and our brave astronauts on the successful launch of Artemis II. It was quite something. It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home from a distance that has never been done before. It's amazing.
That's interesting.
They are on the way,
end
and
goal
God
for
bless
that is.
them. These are brave people. We want to God bless those four unbelievable astronauts. As we speak this evening, it's been just 1 month since the United States military began Operation Epic Fury.
He says just 1 month so casually, too. Because, to be honest, when Putin first announced the operation in Ukraine, I thought it would be definitely no more than a month. I figured it would take a little bit, but I also was not expecting... Definitely wasn't expecting it to last 4 years. I mean, that's longer than the U.S. was in World War II. But, yeah, there's definitely something weird going on with that conflict. But, yeah, it's just so nonchalant because, I mean, look at Iraq, for instance, in comparison to...
The world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
According to whom? If you ask a Ukrainian who the most world's #1 sponsor of terror is, they're not going to say Iran. If you ask maybe a German or a Brit, they're not going to say Iran. If you ask a Chinese person, they'll probably say, I don't know, maybe Tibet or something like that. I'm not sure what they would say. If you were to ask someone from Lebanon, would probably say Israel. It just depends on the perspective, to be honest. Like, if you were to ask someone from Venezuela, who knows what they would say. It all depends on the perspective.
Iran. In these past 4 weeks, our armed forces have delivered swift, decisive, overwhelming victories on the battlefield. Victories like few people have ever seen before. Tonight, Iran's Navy is gone. Their Air Force is...
To what extent is their Navy gone? Are you sure it's gone? According to right here on Wikipedia, yeah, I know, it's a great source, right? But, I mean, if you look here, it'll say, like, generally, like, if it's covered in red here, it means that the ship's been sunk. A couple weeks ago, there were a heck of a lot more ships here. They had destroyers. They had all kinds of ships, like the Dena, that ship that got sunk by the USS Charlotte a few weeks ago. First American submarine kill since World War II, and there were, I believe, 2 other submarine kills, one by the Pakistanis and one by the British against the Argentines in the Falklands War. But yeah, it's interesting because we haven't seen a sub torpedo an enemy ship since World War II, at least from America. But anyway, they got the Gadir class midget subs. These right here are the greatest potential threat, to my knowledge, that Iran has, not against the U.S. Navy, but against merchant shipping. That's the real leverage that they have. They can lay mines, shoot cruise missiles, and shoot torpedoes. And their biggest advantage is they can just sit on the floor of the Persian Gulf and wait for a ship to pass over. And they can also fire from range. But maybe they have sunk all these since then. They just haven't updated. That's possible, but I'm not sure also how well our anti-submarine capability is for the United States as far as locating and sinking a boat that's just sitting on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. It's anti-submarine warfare is a very delicate operation, and Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah, and you see here it's got one intelligent vessel, the Mooj class. That's a ship that the uh, IRIS Dena was a member of. See right here, you can see all in red they were all sunk, or for whatever reason. So this one here was sunk in the Caspian Sea. Yeah, this one here, the Dilemon, sunk in 2026. And I'm not sure just how often this is updated either. So, but what I do know is a month ago they had a heck of a lot more ships on here. According to this thing's still like, dang, these ships are still in service. I wonder too if their Caspian Navy is still, like, how much of that's been taken out, because obviously if we look at a map of Iran, right, so we got up here the Caspian Sea, down here the Persian Gulf. Persian Gulf's what's important. Caspian Sea, the only, as far as Azerbaijan's concerned, it's really important, and then Russia. But outside of that, I would say it's almost a non-factor as far as American policy goes. But anyway, let's continue.
In ruins, their leaders, most of them, terrorist regime they led, are now dead. Their command and control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is being decimated.
It drives me crazy when people refer to their opponents as terrorists, because it's like, well, how do you think they view you? I mean, you could make that argument against anyone you're going against. I mean, both Russia and Ukraine, for an example, view the other side basically as terrorists, right? So, I mean, it's purely like to get more of an emotional appeal to it.
We speak, their ability to launch missiles and drones is dramatically curtailed, and their weapons factories and rocket launchers are being blown.
To what extent, though? Because when you're dealing with a blockade, like with the Strait of Hormuz, technically Iran doesn't even need a navy. All they need, and they don't even need drones, all they need is the possibility they might launch them, or the possibility a ship might get damaged and they won't get insured. It's that simple.
To pieces, very few of them left. Never in the history of warfare has an enemy suffered such clear and devastating large-scale losses in a matter of weeks.
Well, you could say that too about Vietnam, or, well, I mean, Laos. Laos was the most heavily bombed country in the history of the world. There's still tons and tons, in the literal sense, of unexploded munitions littering the country. So just because a country gets bombed to hell doesn't mean they're gonna surrender. It takes a lot more than an air force to wipe out a country.
Our enemies are losing, in America, as it has been for 5 years under my presidency, is winning, and now winning bigger than ever before.
So
before discussing this current situation, I also want to thank our troops for the masterful job they did in taking the country of Venezuela in a matter of minutes.
Yep, that was pretty sick.
That hit was quick, lethal, violent, and respected by everyone all over the world. After rebuilding our military during my first term, we have by far the strongest military anywhere in the world, and now we're working along.
Yeah, I would agree with him there, because yeah, we have the strongest military, and we also have, I mean, if you don't include anything else, just because we have 11 nuclear powered aircraft carriers, and I don't know the number, but a vast amount of nuclear powered submarines. Those submarines, each one is enough to cause enough damage that yeah, I'm not even gonna go there, but between our carriers and subs alone, like the amount of power we have is insane. And that's just the stuff that we know about. Our Air Force, Marine Corps, special operations capability too. Like, in fact, that special operations capability It's what got us Venezuela so easily. So yeah, definitely no disagreement with you there.
Along with Venezuela and are in a true sense joint venture partners. We're getting along incredibly well in the production and sale of massive amounts of oil and gas, the second largest reserves on Earth after the United States of America. We're now totally independent of the Middle East, and yet we...
Okay, so let me ask you this. If we're so independent, then why the heck did I go to the gas station the other day and it's $5 a gallon? That's literally never happened where I live. And yeah, I live in Washington State, which is very far left as far as the government, but still, it never went up to $5 until this whole Iran operation happened. So what's going on?
We are there to help. We don't have to be there. We don't need their oil. We don't need anything they have, but we're there to help our allies. Tonight, I want to provide an update on the tremendous progress our warriors have made in Iran and discuss why Operation Epic Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. From the very first day I announced my campaign for president in 2015, I have vowed that I would never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. This fanatical regime has been chanting death to America, death to Israel for 47 years. Their proxies were behind the murder of 241 Americans in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, the slaughter of hundreds of our service members with roadside bombs. They were involved in the attack on the USS Cole.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. I'm familiar with that attack on USS Cole, but I'm going to let's see here. USS Cole, because I know the Navy actually uses that. Oh, it was by Al Qaeda. Interesting. Well, here's a fun fact. You know, one of Al Qaeda's biggest enemies is Iran. There's no way in hell that Iran was gonna support a Al Qaeda attack unless it was purely out of convenience. But Al Qaeda, as a matter of fact, you remember, I think it was last year, we ended up with this guy. Ahmed al-Shara, this guy. Literal Al-Qaeda leader. Trump invited him to the White House on the Marine Corps birthday. The 250th Marine Corps birthday. In the frickin' White House. Alright, if there's one way to piss off the entire U.S. Marine Corps, that's one way to do it. But anyway, let's see here. USS Cole. Oh, 2000, so it's before 9/11. Suicide bombers. So if it was really Al Qaeda, then that's an awfully big leap saying Iran was behind it. That would be like saying that in World War II, let's say World War I, actually, the Lusitania, that ship that was sunk by the Germans that was carrying American citizens on it, was actually sunk by the Irish Republican Army. I think that's what it was called, but like an Irish group trying to get America into war. It's like, dude, that's kind of reaching there.
And they carried out the countless other heinous acts, including the just horrible, bloody atrocities of October 7th in Israel.
Okay, I am so sick and tired of hearing people bring up October 7th, right? Like, number one, Israel is the single most well-fortified country in the entire world. It's also tiny. It's the size of New Jersey. If there's a problem, it shouldn't take 7 hours for something to, for a response, right? I was watching this video talking about a helicopter pilot that was sitting on the ground waiting to, like, literally ready to take off, and he was told repeatedly to stand down while the attack was happening. And then also, it seems like Charlie Kirk actually brought it up, and he asked about it, and he got shot not too long after that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of really fishy stuff going on. You mean to tell me that the country with not only the best, like, well fortified military in the world, tiny country, like I said, but also best intelligence in the world, Mossad is, I mean, just look it up. It's commonly considered to be the most competent and capable intelligence agency in the world. You mean to tell me, and they also held this rave literally right next to the border with no security, where you knew that people wanted to kill them? Yeah, that's kind of weird. Anyway,
something that most people have never seen anything like it. This murderous regime also recently killed 45,000 of their own people.
okay, dude, how do you know that? Like, do you have actual evidence? Because we keep hearing about the blackout in Iran, that, nobody can use the internet, nobody can get information out of there. Where are you getting this information from exactly? I mean, I get that we probably have intelligence assets on the ground, but 45,000 is a lot of people. And then another thing too is relating to when Bashar al-Assad in Syria allegedly used chemical weapons on his own civilians while he was getting attacked by like 3 different factions. What benefit would that be to him? And in the same sense, what benefit would killing your own people be to Iran's government? Like, that seems, I'm not saying it didn't happen, as I have no idea. I'm just saying it's really fishy, and it really doesn't make a lot of logical sense.
Who were protesting in Iran, 45.
And the other thing too is, if they really did kill that many people, that would do nothing but destroy their reputation and benefit the Israeli and American interests.
1,000 dead. For these terrorists to have nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat.
Okay, so if we're talking about who has nuclear weapons, right? Pakistan and India both have nuclear weapons. Israel has a bunch of nuclear weapons, and they don't even allow UN inspectors to come and inspect them. And Israel's made it a lot more clear that they're more than willing to use them if they ever feel threatened existentially. If Iran did end up having 1 or 2 nuclear weapons, yeah, that's great, but they'd also have to mount them on a rocket and get them to a target. And I don't think they're too dumb to realize that their weapon systems are more than likely going to get intercepted. So, and then also North Korea, like, I haven't heard anything about them not being allowed to have nuclear weapons recently. So it just seems like, I'm not supportive of Iran having nuclear weapons, but it just seems really weird just how big of a deal this is, unless, President Trump knows something that the rest of us don't know and isn't allowed to disclose. But the way I see it, the biggest problem with Iran having a nuclear weapon would be if it was proliferated to some terrorist group and then they somehow set it off somewhere. I don't know, but the whole thing just seems like we're missing some information.
The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaign.
If you want to really say that, dude, look at some of the African countries. Iran doesn't come anywhere close to the most violent and thuggish regime on earth. And then also look at what happens. Look at Gaza. Look at Lebanon right now. That's something that Iran's distracting from. Look at Lebanon. If you want to talk about thuggish, brutal regimes. And I mean, even some of the stuff going on between Russia and Ukraine, like that's, stuff that Iran's doing is, I'm not saying it's good, but saying it's the most brutal and thuggish is. Oh, and then look at Mexico too with the cartels. Just saying.
Campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder from behind a nuclear shield. I will never let that happen, and neither should any of our past presidents. This situation has been going on for 47 years and should have been handled long before I arrived in office.
Yeah, it should have.
I did many things during my 2 terms in
term.
office to stop the quest for nuclear weapons by Iran first, and perhaps most importantly, I killed General Qasem Soleimani in my first term. He was an evil genius, brilliant person, a horrible human being,
Sean
however,
Connery.
the father of the roadside bomb.
Okay, so father of the roadside bomb. Like, dude, what about the Vietnam War? What about Afghanistan? Like, I feel like there's a lot more, but that's just details.
And he lived just horrible, what he did. Iran would have been perhaps in far better, stronger position. He lived, we would have had probably a different conversation tonight. But you know what? We'd still be winning and winning big. And then, very importantly, I terminated Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal, a disaster. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in cash, green cash. Took it out of banks from Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, all the cash they had. He flew it by airplanes in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty, but it didn't work. They laughed at our president and went on with their mission to have a nuclear bomb. His Iran deal would have led to a colossal arsenal of massive nuclear weapons for Iran, and they would have had them years ago, and they would have used them.
Yeah, that's one thing I still don't understand. It's like, if you're that desperate for Iran not to have nuclear weapons, then why is Pakistan and India and North Korea and Israel especially allowed to have nuclear weapons? Like, these countries have all made it very clear that, you know, they have mortal enemies that they want to wipe out given the chance, and yet they're allowed to have nuclear weapons. I mean, I'm not saying also that you should go after them and make it so they can't have nuclear weapons, but just why is there this double standard all the time? Why is Iran like the only country that is always... And look at China. China has nukes. Why can't we apply the same logic to China? Then Russia obviously has maybe twice as many nukes as the US has, or close to. And I mean, obviously, that, like, we can't just go after them because they're nuclear power. But what I'm saying is there's this double standard that's ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense to me unless, and honestly to a lot of Americans, unless there's something else that the government knows that we don't know.
Been a different world. There would have been no Middle East and no Israel right now, in my opinion.
That's BS.
The opinion of a lot of great experts.
Like, how do you know that?
Had I not terminated that terrible deal, I was so honored to do it. I was so proud to do it. It was so bad right from the beginning. Essentially, I did what no other president was willing to do. They made mistakes, and I am correcting them. My first preference was always the path of diplomacy, yet the regime continued their relentless quest for nuclear weapons and rejected every attempt at an agreement. For this reason, in June, I ordered a strike on Iran's key nuclear facilities, an Operation Midnight Hammer. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Yep. And nobody's ever seen an operation with that much hardware and firepower that somehow didn't accomplish the task it was supposed to, because we were told, were we not, that Iran was essentially set back to the Stone Age in terms of their nuclear program. But when asked about it, Tulsi Gabbard and other members of the administration just this last month were saying that it was an imminent threat that they were about to have nuclear weapons. Well, newsflash, according to Benjamin Netanyahu and other high-profile figures, Iran's been about between a week or a month from getting a nuclear weapon since the early 1900s, I believe. So
those beautiful B-2 bombers performed magnificently. We totally obliterated those nuclear sites. The regime then sought to rebuild their nuclear program at a totally different location, making
I'm
clear
sure
they had
that's
no
what
intention of
happened.
abandoning their pursuit of nuclear weapons. They were also rapidly building a vast stockpile of conventional ballistic missiles
Oh yeah.
and would soon have had missiles that could reach the American homeland, Europe, and virtually any other place.
Okay, about the American homeland part. There's a lot of other countries out there that could reach the American homeland with their missiles. I'm not saying it's a good thing that Iran could. They've obviously said very belligerent comments towards the U.S. and Israel and other countries, but again, it's back to the double standard thing. I'm not going to keep harping about it.
On Earth, Iran's strategy was so obvious. They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they did,
Well, that's
with the
what every
longest range
country wants to do.
possible. And they had some weapons that nobody believed they had. We just learned that out. We took them out. We took them all out so that no one would really dare stop them. And their race for a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon like nobody's ever seen before. They were right at the doorstep.
You mean
For years,
like the
everyone has
Tsar
said that
Bomba?
Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, but in the end,
I guarantee you that even if Iran had a nuclear weapon, it would be on the level of, I mean, it wouldn't be like Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Fat Man, Little Boy level. Like, I'm sure it'd be a little more advanced than that. But as far as having something someone would have never seen before, you really think Russia and the U.S. and China don't have nuclear, and Israel don't have nuclear weapons that would make anything Iran would develop look like a squirt gun in comparison?
those are just words if you're not willing to take action when the time comes. As I stated in my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives are very simple and clear. We are systematically dismantling the regime's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders.
You remember when Putin first invaded Ukraine, what his military objectives were, at least the stated ones? Very simple. Denazify and demilitarize the country. It sounds really simple. And honestly, he had me. I would have thought it would have been done a couple years ago at least. But no, simple objectives, and then they end up stretching out, and then they end up evolving, just like with Iraq. Iraq was a very quick conflict. The easy part was taking out Saddam and the regime. The part that proved virtually untenable was holding on to it.
It means eliminating Iran's navy, which is now absolutely destroyed, hurting their air force and their missile program at levels never seen before, and annihilating their defense industrial base. We've done all of it. Their navy is gone, their air force is gone, their missiles are just about used up or beaten. Taken together, these actions will cripple Iran military, crush their ability to support terrorist proxies, and deny them the ability to build a nuclear bomb. Our armed forces have been extraordinary. There's never been anything like it militarily. Everyone is talking about it, and tonight I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion. As we celebrate this progress, we think especially of the 13 American warriors who have laid down their lives in this fight to prevent our children from ever having to face a nuclear Iran. Twice this past month, I've traveled to Dover Air Force Base, and it's been something. I wanted to be with those heroes as they return to American soil, and I was with them and their families, their parents, their wives, their husbands. We salute them, and now we must honor them by completing the mission for which they gave their lives, and every single one of.
So incredible, just the lack of shame he has with spinning these, honestly, tragedies as a way of immortalizing the whole conflict. It's just, I mean, so disrespectful.
The people, their loved ones said, please, sir, please finish the job.
Yeah,
Every one of them.
I'm sure that's
And we are
exactly
going to
what
finish
he
the
said.
job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. They've been great, and we will not let them get hurt or fail in any way, shape, or form. Many Americans have been concerned to see the recent rise in gasoline prices here at home.
Yeah.
This short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching...
Dude, you literally just said that the United States, that our gas is not reliant on the Middle East, and that our reserves and Venezuela's reserves are the biggest in the world. So why all of a sudden is this such an issue? Seriously.
Arranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers in neighboring countries that have
Terror attacks.
nothing...
You ever heard of commerce raiding? Commerce raiding is a legitimate tactic that's been used since, well, really since the ancient world and the sea peoples, but as far as like being a well-developed tactic, it's been used for the last few centuries. And again, it's one of the few points where attacking civilians is actually a strategic part of warfare that it sucks, but it's a legitimate tactic, because especially modern warfare, Second World War, First World War, originally both sides wanted to avoid it, but the realization came later that it was inevitable one way or another. So this is a card that Iran has, and they're not afraid to use it. If we were in the same situation, I'm pretty sure we would use the exact same logic to it.
To do with the conflict. This is yet more proof that Iran can never be trusted with nuclear weapons. They will use them, and they will use them quickly. It would lead to decades of extortion, economic pain, and instability worse than we can ever imagine. The United States has never been better prepared economically to confront this threat. You all know.
Well, we have the $5 a gallon gas and all that stuff. Well, we have a insane unemployment and inflation rate. Yeah, I'm sure, I guarantee militarily we're more than ready for whatever comes, but it's a matter of who's leading it.
Know that we built the strongest economy in history. We're going through it right now, the strongest in history. In 1 year, we've taken...
Okay, so if you were to ask anyone living right after World War II, you'd know that's complete BS, because America's economy was by far at its strongest shortly after World War II, because we came out of the war as essentially the only country where the homeland was untouched from the war. Soviet Union, they won the war, but at what cost? It was almost a Pyrrhic victory. Britain, they almost got strangled into submission by the German U-boat campaign, and they started to recover, but they also lost their empire as a result of the war. If you look at a map of the British Empire before World War II and after World War II, all their colonies are gone, or they're like just barely holding on. Same thing with France. But America came out on top with no, basically, production, industry, their economy, everything was, if anything, superior to where it was entering the war.
Taken a dead and crippled country, I hate to say that, but we were a dead and crippled country after the last administration, and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far, with no inflation, records.
All right.
Setting investments coming in.
What is going on here?
Into the United States.
So when I heard that, I almost had to walk out of the room, because like I'm trying to get. I mean, I'm going to like a tech school right now. I'm trying to get in. There's a lot of stuff I want to do. I'd love to buy a house and start a family, but I can't, mostly because of inflation. I mean, I could technically, but at that point I'd be struggling like crazy just to survive. And I have a good paying job too. I like pretty good paying job, good situation, fairly comfortable life. But ever having a house in this economy is well off the table. I'm never gonna be anywhere close financially to where my parents or grandparents were unless some miracle happens or if the economy gets better, because this administration does not, I mean, they just keep, and it was like this before Biden ever got into office. Like the inflation was going way up under Trump before Biden, so I don't know what the heck he's talking about. I'd love to see some numbers.
Over $18 trillion and the highest stock market ever, with
I really could care
53
less about the stock
all-time record
market.
highs in
Stock
just
market
1
was
year.
looking pretty good before the Great
It
Depression.
all positioned us to get rid of a cancer that has long simmered. It's known as the nuclear Iran, and
I'm so glad that he's got that under control, because every day when I wake up, have my alarm go off, go get some coffee, I'm like, oh darn, I have to get up. Oh man, if only Iran wasn't so close to developing nuclear weapons. Oh, everything would be great. Now this is at this point just straight up and so insulting, honestly.
they didn't know what was coming. They'd never imagined it. Remember, because of our Drill
I'm pretty
Baby
sure
Drill
they
program,
imagined it.
America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas.
So much gas, and look at the frickin' prices.
Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet, without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela because of the Trump administration's policy.
Yeah, a little side note about Venezuela. It's mostly really thick, heavy crude oil that America, I'm not sure the numbers exactly, but America does not have near the refinery capacity to process that oil at the moment. So it's not just a matter of getting the oil. Like, you got to refine it. There's a lot more that goes into it, especially like downstream's one thing, and midstream shipping it up here. Then upstream, where you're refining it, we need to build a lot more refineries here in America too, because the last refinery, the newest refinery in America, is the BP Cherry Point refinery, finished in 1976. That's ridiculous. Why can't we build more refineries, especially when we have all this oil allegedly?
Policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what Russian gas prices are right now, especially before and after the Iran conflict. Actually, let's look at this. I'm curious. I'm just looking this up. Don't take anything I say on this. Like, don't take my word for it. But based on this common sense, what the most likely situation, especially with American, or rather the kind of falling out Trump and NATO have had, because NATO doesn't want to get involved. Gee, I wonder why. I'll get into that later, but from my perspective, and again, I could totally be wrong on this, but I would think Russia, now that Iran, the Strait of Hormuz is essentially closed to NATO traffic. They can't get their oil from that region, so who are they going to have to get it from? Oh yeah, that country that they don't like because they attacked Ukraine. So that's going to do nothing but benefit the Russians.
And Russia combined. and that number will soon be substantially higher than that. There's no country like us anywhere in the world, and
That's
we're in
right.
great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait
And yet our prices
and won't be
keep going
taking
way
any in the
up.
future. We don't
Weird.
need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated,
Then why
both
is the war still
militarily and
going?
economically
Why are
and
you
in every
still
other
trying
way.
to
And
invade Karg
the
Island?
countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish
Yeah.
it. They must grab
Cherish
it and cherish it. They can do it easily.
Yeah, they can do it easily so long as they have ASW capability and minesweeping capability, and um, can do so while under the threat of, or while dealing with, drone attacks. We can see with the Russia-Ukraine conflict just how lethal a few drones, I mean, even a bunch of drones is way cheaper than a ship. Like, if Iran has a lot of drones, it's not the hardest thing in the world to knock out ships, especially because they don't have to knock out warships. All they have to take out is merchant ships. They're super vulnerable.
We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the Strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy. And in any event, when this conflict is over, the Strait will open up naturally. It'll just open up naturally. They're going to want to be able to sell oil because that's all they have to try and rebuild. It will resume the flowing, and the gas prices will rapidly come back down. Stock prices will rapidly go back up. They haven't come down very much, frankly. They came down a little bit, but they've had some very good days over the last couple of days. We've done actually much better than I thought, but we had to take that little journey to Iran to get rid of this horrible threat. With our historic tax cuts, where people are just now.
That's another bunch of BS. I have a lot of friends that are talking to me and being like, hey, the IRS is demanding a lot more money from me this year. What's going on? Yeah, that's another insane claim. Anyway, there is one thing that I could think of that would justify everything Trump's doing on behalf of America. Remember, what I want to see is America do as good as it can, and I want America to come out on top out of all of this. Like, I'm really America first. If by doing this Trump can get Venezuela and Iran fully subservient to the United States as far as oil production, as an American, I would not be against that. If this whole thing is part of an operation that's going to essentially cut off, Russia's not going to be cut off because they have plenty of their own oil, but like China, which I believe also has a lot of their own, and trade with Russia. I don't see how this is gonna necessarily get America back on top of the world stage as far as oil, like a monopoly on oil production and trade. But if it does, okay, well, I stand corrected. But based on the last few months of things that have been happening in this country and around the world, I really don't see that happening.
Talking about receiving larger refunds than they ever thought possible. They are getting so much more money than they thought. That's from the great big beautiful bill. Our economy is strong and improving by the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime,
Stone
discussions
Ages.
are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime.
Yeah, that's another thing. Is you realize Iran has, at least 90 million, close to 100 million people living in it. That's a little under a third of the, at least official population of the United States. What are you going to do with all the people? Because I hear from a lot of people that they want the Shah back. Well, at this point, the Shah has lived his entire life outside of Iran, and he's, based on a lot of his recent speeches, he's made it clear that his interests are mostly Israel aligned. They're not aligned with his own country. So what are you going to do with Iran? It's also a very diverse country. It's got a lot of different populations. I'm honestly a little bit surprised Azerbaijan hasn't done anything yet, because if there's any sort of potential for a land invasion from the West, I would say it'd be with Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan, Turkic country, historically they've had a lot of problems with Iran. They're the same religion technically, but they're a lot less. So I've been to Azerbaijan. It's you know how a lot of countries that historically and nominally are Christian, but they're not. If you talk to your average person, you wouldn't. They're Christian, but they're not like going to church every week, and they're not constantly observing all the sacraments or whatever. It's kind of like that with Azerbaijan. Most of the people, at least I ran into, were Muslim, but more so in the sense of, oh yeah, my family's Muslim, so I am too. In Iran, it's a lot more. You'll run into a lot of secular Iranians, but they'll take it more seriously, generally speaking. And obviously with their government, like, it's very, very serious about the religion. But about 20% of Iran's Azeri, including the Khamenei family. So, and also Azerbaijan is a very close ally of Israel, which, Turkey and Israel obviously don't get along that well. But Azerbaijan and Turkey are also, like, closer than brothers. So I wouldn't expect Azerbaijan to do anything, but there's always that kind of wild card.
Regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original leaders' death. They're all dead. The new group is less radical and much more reasonable. Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, even though that's the...
Okay, I don't know if that's a war crime, but at this point, like I said, I just look at Afghanistan and I look at Iraq, and we knocked out the governments very quickly in both those conflicts. But that was the easy part. The hard part was holding on to it and winning the hearts and minds, which apparently in neither country we were able to really do. Yeah, there's a lot of Iran. Iran historically was, back in the 60s, pro-American, but it was also kind of a CIA operation, and a lot of Iranians didn't like feeling like they were a puppet state. So, and again, it's been almost 50 years, as President Trump himself mentioned. So, again, we really don't know Like, it's really, really hard to say. And yeah, it's just such a weird situation.
Easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it. They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force. The nuclear sites that we obliterated with the B-2 bombers have been hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust, and we have it under intense satellite surveillance and control. If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have all the cards, they have none. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective. American involvement in World War I lasted 1 year, 7 months, and 5 days.
Okay, here comes the, how long we fought in each war, and then I predict it's going to lead to, oh yeah, we were only in fighting World War I for a year and a half, or World War II for 3.5 years. So how much is it really to ask to fight a 5-year war in Iran?
World War II lasted for 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days. Yeah. The Korean War lasted for 3 years, 1 month, and
that's crazy, because the Korean War we think of as like a little side note almost in American history, because it didn't really change hardly anything, and technically North and South Korea are still at war with each other, but it lasted almost as long as the American involvement in World War II, which is pretty crazy to think about.
2 days. The Vietnam War lasted for 19 years,
yep,
5 months, and 29 days. Iraq.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, Operation Rolling Thunder and all these offensives. And Vietnam's very small country compared to Iran, very a lot of jungles obviously. Plus, in Vietnam, we already had half the country on our side with South Vietnamese. Plus, I think I'm not sure if the French had pulled out all the way, but I'm pretty sure we still had some sort of French support, and we definitely had Australian support. But with Iran, I mean, Israel's already said they're not going to get involved on the ground, and Iran's a much larger country and probably significantly more fanatical. So I don't really see, and a lot more self-sufficient too, so I don't really see how the United States is gonna, we better have some really clear-cut goals, is all I'm saying.
Went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated, and essentially
so was Iraq
is really no
and
longer
Vietnam
a threat.
by this
They were the
point.
bully of the Middle East, but they're the bully no longer. This is a true investment in your children and your grandchildren's future. The whole world is watching, and they can't leave the power, strength, and brilliance. They just can't believe what they're seeing. They leave it to your imagination, but they can't believe what they're seeing. The brilliance.
Have we ever had a leader in this country who was just so openly vain about everything? Like, seriously. Like, even if I was completely behind everything he was saying, could you at least just chill out a bit and let the military do it and quit bragging about how amazing everything is? Like, what is happening?
Of the United States military. Tonight, every American can look forward to a day when we are finally free from the wickedness of Iranian aggression and the specter of nuclear blackmail.
I can't wait.
Because of the actions we have taken, we are on the cusp of
decades.
ending Iran's sinister threat to America and the world. And I'll tell you, the world is watching, and when we
they're
do,
watching all right.
when it's all over, the United States will be safer, stronger, more prosperous, and greater than it has ever been before. May God bless the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, and good night.
What's going on here?
Local tax experts are here.
Okay, come on.
Now you can meet with a TurboTax expert in your community.
Okay. Anyway. So yeah, that's my little spiel on that whole situation. I'm gonna do a condensed one actually. Yeah, might as well just talk about, some condensed points of the speech, because it was a good speech. He definitely is well spoken, but there's just so much that he said that is not just it's not just far removed from my personal experience and what I see around me all the time, and especially digging into history. It's so detached from the historical realities that I just want to. It's just so. Either he knows something that the rest of us don't know, and he can't shut up about it, or this country's headed for another Iraq and Afghanistan, is what it looks like. Hope that's not the case, but good night.